And welcome once again, another edition of the Decline of Wrestling Civilization here on LuchaCentral.com. I am Joe Martel, the somewhat pretend He-Man host, and the cult icon Eric Mutter joining me again with your Winnipeg Jets toque, or winter hat, as it's called by many Americans.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to wear these for much longer on the show. It's 60 was 60 some degrees here in beautiful Rhode Island today. It's going to be 71 on Thursday. I'm going to have to go to the old ball caps. I got a nice Green Lantern hat. I'll have to break that one out.
I'm sure that's Ryan Reynolds' favorite.
Yeah. Oh, he rewatched the movie. He's a fan now.
Is he?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have not watched a superhero movie since the first Iron Man. I don't feel like I'm missing anything.
You gotta see, now you've given me the perfect opportunity. I watched the Snyder Cut this past week. And I am not one of those crazy fanboys, one of those crazy Snyder fans that, sent death threats and probably fishes to the Warner Brothers studio.
Okay.
But I did think this movie was great, and I give it my recommendation to everyone out there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I have not watched it, and I don't have HBO Max or whatever streaming service it's on.
Oh, there are ways to...
Oh, I am very well aware that there are ways, but I'm trying to keep things legal here while we're on a legal
That's right.
service.
We here at the Decline of Wrestling Civilization do not condone illegal streaming activities.
Absolutely correct.
Yes, that should play at the beginning of every episode. Warning, the following is a paid announcement by Decline of Wrestling Civilization.
Oh boy. It should be like South Park, where it looks like that parental advisory and it's just telling you, don't watch this show, it sucks.
No, the Canadian government has already apologized for Bryan Adams on numerous occasions.
Accurate and deserved. All right. So, big week in wrestling, couple of big pieces of news before we get into all the WWE stuff that's going on, because it is their hottest time of the year. I don't want to say that is in quality, just the buzz is hottest this time of year. But related to that, a person who's no longer with WWE, the formerly known Andrade Cien Almas. He might be keeping the name. He's hinted at otherwise, but he's definitely keeping the LCN. He is on his Twitter handle already again. But Andrade, formerly known as La Sombra, no longer part of WWE. So after we ranted last week about him asking for his release, both of us agreeing that it was one of those instances that this is hoarding talent. There's no reason to keep him signed without using him. A few days later, as of this weekend, he is now free to work wherever he wishes.
Yes.
So you were saying that you and your Lucha Central friends were very excited. Was there any discussion as to what you think will happen for Sombra Andrade in the near future?
Well, he could go anywhere immediately. He does not have the traditional 90-day non-compete clause, which, I mean, just for some clarification for people out there, and I could be mistaken, but my understanding has always been you can decline that.
Okay.
And go right out into the open market. Most people don't, because you get paid for the 90 days. Whereas if you reject it, you don't get paid at all. So you're basically banking on getting a job right away and such. So I mean, I'm pretty sure here that was just taken out. I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty sure that was just taken out here. So I'm not sure why. I mean, we can speculate on that. Some people think it's because he assured them that he wasn't going to AEW, that he was either going to like Ring of Honor or just back to Mexico or something.
That's true with Roosh and Ring of Honor. I've heard of that. Okay.
Some people think that Charlotte pulled some strings to get him out, which I would not be surprised by either. Mm-hmm. I'm not entirely sure. I just know that he's free. He's free to go wherever he wants. He could appear on Dynamite tonight if he so chose, he could appear on CMLL's show this Friday and confront Bandito or Volador Jr. after that match. He can go wherever he wants to do. So naturally, everybody is very happy about this.
I'm not sure he'll ever be a main event talent in the U.S. due to the restrictions, but the guy, it can be hired anywhere except Vince McMahon land, apparently, and be used properly. I really feel like where you and I disagree on WWE and their treatment of luchadors is that I feel like they should be part of the organization, though I understand why they aren't stars. At the same time, you can still use them. They don't all have to be Lucha House Party and basically rejects of the card.
Dorks.
Yeah, dorks, and as we saw on Raw. So basically, these people can be used much better. And then when you have a talent like him, as much as I don't mind Lucha House Party where they are being portrayed as dorks, and I like Grand Metalik a lot, and I wish they'd do more with him, maybe in the Cruiserweight division or send him back to NXT.
He has now become the poster child for misused luchadors in the company now that Sombra is gone.
That's right, and I would understand that. At the same time, Andrade was twice the in-ring worker for a WWE style. I'm not saying he's better in a luchador style. That would be up to the Lucha fans to dictate. But
I will say, he's a much better high flyer than he showed in WWE. He's a very great high flyer.
Andrade Sombra, you mean?
Sombra, yeah. Right. He just they did not want him to do that.
No, and I'm honestly, I am as a fan of that. I really, but he didn't need it. He still delivered great matches without having to depend on that. And the match we've mentioned countless times with Gargano just blew everyone in WWE away. And to many people, it's still the best match they've had in WWE for the last 5 to 6 years.
Some will argue it's the best match in the history of the company.
I won't agree with that, but I could see the argument.
Yeah, no,
I'm a fan of that style, but yes.
I'm not sure it is either, but the fact that you can make that argument, like, just think about that right there. And now think about the fact that that is one of the best matches ever. And this guy, he's my age. He's 31, 32 years old, and he's gone.
Yeah.
He's probably, he might come. You never can say never, obviously, the old adage. The likelihood, though, is he's never coming back in.
I think that'll depend on who's in charge. The way he thanked very specific people on social media since
wasn't that there are two names that were not brought up,
right?
Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard, right there.
Yeah, I don't really notice when Bruce is involved or not involved, but I definitely Vince McMahon. Out of all the people he could have thanked, Vince would have been the most obvious, as just for the opportunity, didn't even happen. And yes, I understand that.
He thanked the two NXT guys where he was the most successful, and he thanked Paul Heyman, who was the only guy who gave him a shot on the main roster.
So I think it'll depend. I don't know how much time is left on Vince McMahon's career. There's rumors he's going to sell at any moment, so we don't know. And then Triple H is in line to take it over if it stays within the family. We don't know if that's going to happen. Basically, there's so many moving parts. We don't know what's going to be.
That's a discussion for another time right there. Yeah, who the hell knows?
So at this point, I'm excited for Andrade or Sombra, whichever name he's going to end up taking. And I hope he gets a shot in AEW. I might not tune in to watch it, but he deserves a shot to show Vince McMahon, you misused me.
Where do you think he's going to go?
Let's talk. I don't know. I don't care. But you tell me. You're the fan of the Lucha style. He's not going to be in a promotion I'm going to watch unless he ends up in ROH or Impact. It's not going to affect my viewing. So
I don't think. I've heard zero about Impact. I honestly don't think we would even be talking about Ring of Honor if Rush and Dragon Lee weren't there. If they were off somewhere else, Ring of Honor. The unfortunate thing about ROH is that their buzz is ice cold.
Agreed. Does anyone realize they're having a big pay-per-view at the end of this week?
Does anybody realize that pay-per-view was taped already?
Yeah.
There's some people talking about he could show up on this pay-per-view. He can't. It was taped. People aren't even aware of what's going on there right now. I've heard that the product is a lot better than it had been prior to the pandemic, but that doesn't mean shit if the buzz is just dead. And the buzz is dead, and you hope for this guy that he goes somewhere where he'll have a shot immediately to be like, hey, Vince, look what you could have had, and look what I'm doing right now. And that's not going to happen in Ring of Honor. He'll get to hang out with his friends, with his best friend. He'll have good matches. He'll be a top guy. But, I mean, Ring of Honor isn't getting any better than it is right now for at least a little while, at least till fans are back. So, and the thing with New Japan, he'd have to be quarantining for 2 weeks to get over there. You know, I'm not sure he wants to be spending that much time away from Charlotte right now. I don't know that. So I think from that standpoint, AEW makes the most sense to me. I just, you know, AEW has a lot of people there. Now, I do think they would push him immediately if he went there. And I think they would bring in Thea Trinidad as well. That is it. They are now both available, so you can bring them in as a package deal wherever he goes.
Right.
That's valuable. I do think they would use him. There are matches with Ray Phoenix in particular that I think people would just die to see on a major stage. Like that could be the next series of matches like Sombra had with Rey Mysterio on SmackDown all those years ago. So I think from that standpoint, it makes sense. I just worry about, because there are a lot of people there. There is the chance he would get lost in the shuffle there. And, you know, Rush and Dragon Lee being, I see it being one of those two places. I see positives for both. I see negatives for both.
There you go. That's fair. Now, how many people in AEW have the contract where they can work AEW but also return to Mexico? I don't know what the rules are for quarantining there, but where he might be able to work for CMLL or AAA, depending on which one he would sign with.
That would not be an issue at all.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be an issue with Ring of Honor at all as well. Rush, remember, Ring of Honor and CMLL are supposedly in bed together, but Rush and Dragon Lee have worked AAA. Rush was basically a full-time member of AAA before the pandemic, hasn't appeared since really, but that, you know, so I don't think Ring of Honor would have a problem with him working in AAA. We know AEW wouldn't. They have, you know, Pentagon and Phoenix are there whenever they're not working AEW. Laredo Kid, who we'll talk about later, is doing both. There's been a few others. Australian Suicide was a AAA regular who's worked AEW Dark before. Right. So I don't think that would not be a problem. Working in Mexico isn't an issue. He'll be allowed to do that. Now, as to where he would work there, I think long term it would probably be AAA, because I think they're the ones who are more likely to be able to afford him. See, and now I do think he'll appear on this CMLL show at first.
Okay.
He does have, you know, friendly ties with them still. I think he'll do him a favor, but beyond that, I don't think they'll be able to afford him.
With a lot of options, and like I said, I don't think he's going to become the top guy in the North America, probably not AEW, but he's going to be in the mix. He's going to be a valued asset wherever he does end up, and he's definitely going to be a star if he goes to Mexico.
It depends. If he's got Theo with him, then I think it could happen there. I mean, like, you know, they were the top act in NXT for a while. That's not a small thing there either. He was the champion, and he was the top guy when, you know, I mean, you and I feel the way we do about Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano, but there's no question they were popular.
I don't even know if Cole was there at that time.
Aleister Black was popular at that time.
Being popular is not the same thing.
Yeah, he was there.
Where I'm going with this is that in AEW, the roster is a lot more like, whenever people would compare Dynamite to NXT, when you take a look at the name value, AEW trumps them. Other than the fact that it's under the blanket of WWE, NXT doesn't have a lot of star power unless you're an NXT fan. AEW has more of a possible mainstream fan base and name power. So I think Andrade, Sombra would end up being more. When you say getting lost in the mix, I think there's more of a chance of that in there than you're giving credit to, basically.
Well, it definitely could happen. I'm just saying, like, it sounded to me like what you were saying was that if they brought him in and even if they used him correctly, it's still probably going to top out as an upper mid-carder, occasional main event guy. I think with Thea there managing him, I think we've seen that he was able to be a capable main eventer, and I think he would be able to do the
But
same
with a
thing.
weaker roster, is my point. He could be the main eventer of a weaker roster. AEW has a much better roster than NXT had back in 2015, 16, whenever it did take place.
That now I will grant you that. Yes, I mean they did not have an Omega, a Jericho, and a John Moxley, or even an Eddie Kingston in that regard. Eddie
Or an
Kingston,
MJF, or everybody. There's a lot of potential people there.
It really is easy to forget that MJF has become pretty big over the past year. That's a good point there too. Yeah, I will grant you that. There are definitely more established names. I mean, I just know I saw that act. I saw that it did work.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it was a weaker roster, but I mean, it still worked, and it still worked at a main event level.
Right.
And I think it could again.
It's entirely possible.
How the booking goes.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
Speaking of booking, let's transition to WWE. They just had FastLane. I don't want to recap the entire show, but I do want to point out the important factors of right now. The main event ended with Bryan being cheated out of the win, and definitely the rumors and apparently speculation from dirt sheets, all super credible, are saying that he's going to be inserted into that title match in some way at WrestleMania. I'm talking about now. So I still wonder if they're going to take advantage of the 2 nights of WrestleMania and have some angle where it separates on each night. Something like where Edge takes on Bryan night 1, then takes on Roman night 2, or something along those lines. I'm not predicting that. I just wonder if that's a potential option.
And basically the Triple H Bryan match, but on night 1.
Yeah.
And then on night 2, the way. Oh, how do you feel about the idea of this being a 3-way?
I never like the idea of a 3-way. I am not.
That's right. You're not big on those.
No, I like them in the mid card. I like them for tag teams in a mid card. I think it's good to establish, okay, out of these 4 teams, this is your top challenger. I like that idea. But when it's actually WrestleMania, main event, one-on-one is the way to go. There's been good triple threat matches. Talking about Daniel Bryan, that one.
Bryan was in one of them. Yeah.
Exactly. And then Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and some guy I'm not remembering a few years back before then. But in general, it doesn't have the same feel as a classic one-on-one battle. That's what wrestling was built on, and that's still what I'm drawn by.
Yeah, I mean, in this situation, I have to say I would agree. I'm not sure how we got here, because it seems like the whole idea was supposed to be that this was going to be Edge's big moment, where after his triumphant return, he would walk in as this giant baby face against the top heel in the company, and he would have the shot to win the title that he never lost 10 years ago.
Right.
And now he feels like he's edging towards being a heel, and Daniel Bryan is being put in this match, and I don't know how this one really works.
I think the issue that I had from the beginning is I never felt there was a big story about Edge coming back and winning back the title. I see where it is. I see why fans were interested in it, but Edge is so, I don't want to say over the hill as in he doesn't have anything left. But when you look at the roster and what Roman has done since returning back at SummerSlam, a 49-year-old man does not feel like the main events of the year. No. So unfortunately, I wasn't buying into it. I could see, but I didn't feel like it.
Now that's the other factor, though. There's a strong argument that many people weren't buying into this. Like we've talked before. Remember, he was on that NXT show,
right?
Not that long ago, that bombed huge in the ratings against, I believe, the wedding of Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. I believe that's the segment he went up against, and he got trounced. And
I really don't think there's any value in that metric.
No, the point is, there is some evidence there, whether you value it that much or not, that people were not buying into this thing for whatever reason. I do know that a lot of people thought that they were making him a little unlikable in recent weeks, that he was being, because Bryan wanted this match with Reigns and he was bothered by Bryan wrestling Reigns for the title because he wanted to wrestle Roman. And it's like, you have a title shot. What does it matter? Who cares who you face and such?
Well, I've never felt that, because the whole purpose of him choosing Roman was he had two champions to choose from, and he decided he's going after Roman. So he made his choice, and now Bryan's trying to ruin his choice. I think until the heel turn, if that's what it was at FastLane, I didn't see any heel tendencies. He was very respectful to Bryan in his promos. One of the big comments that keeps being repeated whenever they do these videos, pre-match videos and segments, was, "I like you, I respect you, I just don't like how you handled this." And it was done in a very, very babyface kind of way. There was tension, but it wasn't. It was sort of like Shawn Michaels and Chris Benoit from 2020. You didn't think either of them were going to be heels. They just were two baby faces, and you choose which one you're following.
Maybe that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to redo that whole thing from.
I don't see it that way, because Fastlane was, to me, it was pretty evident as a heel turn.
Well, that's what I came across to me when I heard it too. I mean, I guess the good thing about it is that it pretty much means Roman has to win that match, because I can't see them giving the belt to a heel Edge. That just kind of diminishes the whole point of what they were going for. And I don't think Bryan needs the title at this point. And I thought Roman should have been holding on to the title until the next big babyface came along anyway. So at least that would seem to guarantee to me that that Roman does win the match.
I still think that it's possible that Bryan could take it. I'm not predicting anything, because it's not about because I was wrong that one time. I just don't like trying to predict. I want to just sit and watch the show without expecting anything. And I think Bryan winning can make sense for the story. And then you'd end up having a pay-per-view. I think it's Extreme Rules that they do after WrestleMania, and that could be Edge versus Daniel Bryan for the title. That said, Roman has been the number one guy, not just on SmackDown, but the entire wrestling world, basically.
Certainly the entire company.
Yeah. So at this point, it's kind of hard to remove that so you could put Daniel Bryan against Edge at a forgettable pay-per-view after WrestleMania. So there's a lot of possibilities. I'm pretty curious to see how it goes, whether they go a triple threat route, if they do balance it out over two nights in some way. Either way, I'm enjoying it, and that match was glorious. Best WWE match. I'm not going to say match, but best WWE match I've seen easily this year, and I'm having a hard time thinking of one over last year as well. Even the greatest wrestling match of all time, it was good, but
that was ridiculous.
I love technical wrestling, so seeing Daniel Bryan spend the first 5 to 10 minutes out wrestling in a technical way and smirking and being very cocky about it to Roman, and Roman's he's got this character perfect right now.
We've talked about this how many times. Ironically enough, it was 6 years ago with the same, and this was probably the best WWE match since that match. You could probably argue. That where they went out at Fastlane 2015. And the thing that impressed me so much about that match was that it was completely different than that bullshit formula WWE always does. They went out there and they had a completely different match, and lo and behold, it worked brilliantly. Yeah. And I would bet everything I own, they did the same thing again this time, right?
In a lot of ways. They incorporated a lot of what Roman has done with the drama lately, and then they added Bryan's technical and the confidence of saying, I can out wrestle you, I can make you tap out. And then Roman did tap out and did it perfectly with the softest, lamest tap ever near the end. Honestly, from beginning to end, there has not been a better WWE match, probably. I'm not going to say since Fastlane 2015, but I'm having a hard time thinking.
Well, you know, we can't say that because Sombra versus Gargano did happen in between.
NXT. I'm saying WWE for a reason.
Main roster. Main roster. Let me think here. Kofi versus Daniel Bryan.
No.
Really?
No, I wasn't. Kofi never really impressed me as a main event guy. You remember me saying I'm not buying into it. The story worked out, but in the ring, it didn't work for me.
I thought that match was super.
It was very good. It's probably Kofi's
Yeah.
best match, but it wasn't better than
Oh, yeah, it was easily his best match. Yeah, no, the title reign afterwards was not all that impressive, but I don't know how much that was on him as opposed to,
everything else.
Yeah, them doing what they always do.
So when it comes to Roman versus Edge, that's the main event of night 2. Other matches booked for night 2, they've confirmed after what we saw on Raw. Rhea Ripley has come out, made her debut on Raw, and challenged Asuka. I don't know if this was unpredictable, but I think it definitely threw a wrench in the plans when Charlotte announced that she had COVID-19.
Oh yeah,
and
this match is, I believe, changed at least twice.
Backstage, yeah, probably.
Yeah, backstage. I believe it was supposed to be Lacey Evans versus Charlotte once upon a time, and then
I didn't see that happening.
Lacey got pregnant and such, and then it was. I mean, they were certainly setting up Charlotte versus Asuka a few weeks ago. We talked about it on the show how Charlotte had, I believe, even challenged Asuka, and now she's got COVID. But she's supposedly going to be okay in the next
3 to 4 days.
3 days now, because that's what Sombra spilled the beans on that yesterday. So it'd be 3 days, and yet they're going ahead with this match. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, it was the only option they could go with, though, if Charlotte couldn't make it.
Exactly.
There's no other choice. Like, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. He was like, the only other options would have been Peyton Royce or Naomi or Lana and I was like, stop right there, please. Yeah, there was no other choice.
Mini rant here. Peyton Royce got a Raw match against Asuka. She got to show all her abilities after having that passionate promo. Peyton Royce is not a main event women's wrestler. She's a mid-carder. She doesn't have the ability to pull it off. She looked soft. It was like watching Marco Stunt wrestle. It was just not believable at all.
Wow.
It was not. She can get the moves. She can move. She knows where to be at the right time, but then she had weaker strikes than Giant Gonzalez. It was just really weak.
Well, the book on her and Billie Kay has always been that they're great personalities, but then when it was time to get in the ring, I mean, she's better than I've seen Billie Kay wrestle.
Oh, for sure.
God bless her, but oh my God.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get back on track. So you're absolutely right that the plan was most likely not going to be Asuka against Rhea. Yeah. Though I do think Rhea was going to be part of the plans. I just didn't know if that was going to end up a triple threat or if Rhea was going to have to face Charlotte at FastLane, or we don't know.
I think the plan was she was going to be the challenger coming out of WrestleMania, but because of all of this, they had to move it up. Look, I mean, again, it's the only decision they could make. It's the decision they probably should have made from the start. No. She probably should have been up after the Rumble, and they should have been, like we talked about this from the beginning. They probably should have gone with her in this match from the start. But you're going to disagree now.
I am, because I think the match should have been Charlotte against Rhea. I have no problem.
Well, that's what I mean.
Okay, gotcha.
She should have been wrestling for the title. Okay, regardless of who the champion was.
I think in this case, what we're going to end up seeing is they're going to wait to find out what Charlotte's recovery is, because she might have lingering effects. That's rumored why Keith Lee, again, rumored.
Yeah, rumored.
Not back. A lot of speculation on that and dubious feelings. But if Charlotte's not ready to be back, then go with this match. But if she's ready to be back and you can make it even bigger or somehow use the 2 nights to somehow build it up, I know I'm the only person that seems to be bringing that up on a regular basis.
Yes, I'm getting a little worried for you here. You are bringing that up. Nobody else is bringing that up. I mean, it is a good concept for them to use. I just don't know if they understand that or not.
I think the issue that's bringing it to my attention so much is they've already told us that next year's WrestleMania is 1 night. So if you're going to do this,
really?
Yeah, they made that announcement when they announced all 3 WrestleManias coming up. Now, obviously, plans could change. We know this in the world of wrestling, but it was a big deal when it was announced that it was going to be one night. So then this is your only chance to do something like this at a WrestleMania.
Sure.
I feel like do it. Just do it. So I don't know if that's going to happen here. The other match that is booked for night 2, you and I are super excited for this one.
Oh!
But Freddie Voorhees, also known as the Fiend 2.0, is going to take on Randy Orton. Look what I'm surrounded by. I should be in love with this story. It is terrible.
Can you imagine if you're Roman Reigns and they come up to you and go, all right, you're going to be following Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt? That's probably what's going to happen. That will kill that main event.
I hope they don't go the pre-recorded route and they just let them wrestle in some way. No worms.
God. Oh my God, man. Look, you pick your poison. It's going to be bad here. We've seen it both ways. It's not good either way.
The only way it could be good is if they say the only way to salvage this is by letting them go in the ring and do what they want to do. Don't worry about writing too much or making it pre-planned. Just let them go and work. I think they could pull it off.
But the problem is Bray is the one coming up with most of this stuff.
I don't know about that, but in the end, we know Bray can work. And if they just let them work without any of the fantastical stuff, I think it could be good. Not main event good, but it could be good.
I think it is best if we all set our expectations below the negative line.
I am agreeing with you. I'm just thinking there's a possibility, not that it's likely. Yeah. So unfortunately, this match is going to be the bathroom.
Where do you put this match? Because it has the potential to be so terrible. It does kill and there will be a crowd. It'd be one thing if there were no people. You could recover from that, but there's going to be people there. And this match could be so bad that it just kills the momentum for a little bit. So, like, you can't open the show with it because you don't want to start with a dud.
Right.
You don't want to put it right before the main event because you want the main event to be hot. So where do you put it?
Do you recall where it was at WrestleMania? Was it 32 when they had the worms? Was that the semi-main?
I believe it was close to the end. Of course, now, Roman and Undertaker wasn't hurt by the worms. It was hurt by the fact that it too sucked. But
I think they both really hurt it overall. But in the end, I think there's a way to place it in the middle, recover with something hot. Yeah, I don't know, a match that hasn't been announced for what night, Riddle and Sheamus. They haven't even announced that it's going to be a match, but they seem to be going towards a match. I think that what we've seen from them on Raw would be a good one to follow Orton and Fiend.
I suppose it would depend on how, see here, this is going to be an interesting thing because we've been without people for a long time, and now we're going to have people who are not going to be reacting the way the Thunderdome's people have been reacting. They're going to do whatever the hell they want, and like we're going to learn who is actually over here,
right,
and who is not. So that makes it even trickier. I actually probably would go with the women's match after that one.
Not a bad choice.
I think Rhea Ripley and Asuka are both popular enough, especially with the type of fans that will be there, that they would be able to get the crowd into it. Whereas Riddle, in theory, Riddle would be, but he obviously has that extracurricular stuff hanging over him, so you never know how fans will react. And Sheamus,
I really think the amount of fans that are holding that against Riddle is very minute. I think it's you and maybe 3 other people, and one of them's the girl.
Well, we can't know for sure. And Sheamus runs hot and cold with crowd reactions anyway. So to me, the women's match is a pretty safe bet that people will react to that regardless of what comes before it or not.
I could see that logic as long as there's something in between that women's match and the main event just to balance it out. But yeah,
maybe you have Titus O'Neil beat up Hulk Hogan in between.
Yeah, the host. I really don't know what they're thinking.
What? Yeah, what was that?
I don't know.
My God.
So night 1's main event is Drew against Lashley.
Is it? All right, hold on. Is that going to be the main event?
I don't think anything else could be.
So you have not heard of the make Sasha and Bianca main event hashtag?
Oh, I've heard it. I don't buy into it whatsoever.
You don't believe they're going to do that?
No.
I think there's a possibility they could.
There's always a possibility they could. There's a possibility it's going to be Braun and Shane. I don't think it's going to happen.
Dear God. Can you imagine? I would go to WrestleMania just to see that if it main evented.
I think what they've done with Lashley on Raw, and while that isn't getting the viewership that SmackDown is getting, Raw is still the cornerstone of WWE TV today. He's been so pumped up as the guy of that brand. Drew has been the guy for everything before Lashley won the title. There's no way Sasha and Bianca is going to take that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see if the fan movement is enough, I could see it happening. Now, from a booking perspective, I would say that would be dumb because it seems like that feud has just been a misfire.
It's not great. And not only that, as much as I think Bianca has amazing potential, she's still young. She's not green, but she's still in need of work. I wouldn't put her in that type of spotlight so quickly.
Well, it's either going to be one of those two.
Yeah.
It's not going to be anything else. I can't see what else it could be.
Well, the only other match that's booked so far for night one is Bad Bunny against Miz, and I don't even know if that match is going to stay as is because we've heard rumors of it being a tag match with Morrison and Priest.
Yeah, that better be different because, the two best workers of those four are John Morrison and Damian Priest.
It's not. I don't think that one is going to be work related. That's just going to be about a celebrity spotlight.
And I'm sure that they are confident that Bad Bunny can. I mean, look, after what happened with Shaq, we can't just go in there and say, "Oh, it's a given. This guy is going to suck," because we all thought that was Shaq, and then lo and behold, that was an enormous success.
Oh, of course, it was AEW. Of course, everyone loved it. But in reality, when it comes to celebrity involvement, we've definitely seen some celebrities that have been booked well where everybody comes together to make it work.
That's my point here. This isn't an AEW WWE thing like
with you, it tends to be.
No, but I don't know why you tried to make it out. I'm saying, and again, I thought that was going to be awful. I didn't think that was.
And what did I say about the show before that?
You said it was going to be better than everybody expected, I believe. Yeah, and you were correct and such. So that's what I'm trying to say here. And then you tried to turn it into a tribal warfare thing for some reason. Okay. The point I'm making is that they know something that we don't, which is why that they're doing this match. Although, granted, I do think it would be better if you had the other two guys in there, but
you got to keep in mind that right now WWE is very centered in Florida. They could be having Bad Bunny doing some runs in the Performance Center and have been doing it over the last 2 months.
Oh God, they definitely have.
Consider what happened with Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. She debuted at Royal Rumble. We found out that she had been training for a couple of months before then, and then obviously trained ever since, and then delivered the best match of that WrestleMania. So they can do that with Bad Bunny.
We're not in disagreement here. I think what I would just say is, I thought the whole point of this was to get Damian Priest over.
I thought so too.
And I think you have a better shot of doing that if he's in the match as opposed as being on that's the problem here. Not that Bad Bunny won't be able to do anything. He'll be capable. They'll have something.
I just thought of something. WWE is definitely going to pull something like this off. It's going to start as a singles match. Teddy Long's going to show up and make it a tag team match, and that's how we're going to get Morrison and Priest in it. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's what they're going to pull off.
Yeah, you could be right there. Yeah.
That's a very WWE move.
I'm going to be optimistic and say no. I think maybe they just decide. They do the regular singles match. Bad Bunny does a few spots that look good. I mean, look, The Miz is not a great worker, but he's an incredibly safe worker.
Oh,
so
for sure.
You don't have to worry about anything bad happening. And then Priest and Mundo will do some crazy spot or whatever, and that'll be fine. I would do the tag match. You want to get Damian Priest over, and Bad Bunny beating The Miz, even with a couple spots, doesn't do anything for Damian Priest.
100% agree.
Yeah, doesn't do anything.
I mentioned Braun versus Shane. I don't know a single person who's listening to this that has any hope for this. I do agree. I don't even want. Let me say this properly. I understand booking this match so you can give Braun a win that'll matter in the long run. I think if they would have treated their roster better for the last 6 months, they would have had a better option than Shane, but it is what it is. At this point, Shane coming back to put over Braun, fine. That said, you have to do something special to make this matter in any way, because if they just deliver a regular match, Braun's not going to get it.
They will deliver a regular match, and Shane will get tossed up the pirate ship, and they'll think that will be enough, and it will mean nothing 5 months from now.
100% agreed. And then another match that's been booked that we don't know which night is the Raw Tag Team Championships, where the New Day is going to defend their title against AJ and
Can
Omos.
I just say, did I or did I not call Drew McIntyre beating both Shelton and Cedric last week?
I think you did.
I nailed it. And then a week later, he did exactly that.
Yeah. And they made it matter. At least they said there was a consequence, because they had a segment where Adam Pearce said he wasn't going to book it because it doesn't make any sense. And Drew said, no, make it happen. But if I win their from ringside. Still, the match happened like you predicted. 100%.
Yeah, and it's just, I feel bad for those two. I mean, we've talked about before, there's not really anything about deserved or whatnot, but those guys they were doing a really good job as tag team champions. And then just like that, they lose them so we can get Omos in a match that nobody was really clamoring to see. And they're not even going to be on the card now.
So far, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I do sense there's going to be some sort of multi-person. I say that because I think
the Battle Royal.
Yeah, either a Battle Royal or there could be a multi-tag team match, but I think that's more going to be a SmackDown thing. It's really hard to tell what's going to happen, but the fact that they've been so strong and have no plans is disappointing. Hopefully they pull something out of, like a rabbit out of a hat over the next 2 weeks.
Who do you think right now wins this Lashley Drew match, by the way?
I do not want to. Both options have positives and negatives. I know we talked about that earlier, pros and cons. Lashley is on such a hot streak. I don't see ending that now. And because it's night one, I think that they could have a heel win and still make it overall a WWE show with a babyface winning somehow at the end of the next night. But as we just talked about, that doesn't even seem that possible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Drew has been the guy since Royal Rumble last year before the pandemic. It's hard not to give him the moment that we've all been clamoring for as wrestling fans. I don't want to predict. Either option will be fine or terrible, depending on how they pull it off.
It's good. Again, this is what makes this so interesting, because there will be fans there.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to learn a lot, because we haven't been able to, because it's been in this environment where WWE can control the audience response and what have you. And now, I mean, I think a lot of people are expecting, because it will be the first show back, that the fans will be forgiving, and maybe they will be, but you can't take that to the bank.
No, absolutely
right not. There. So, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, conventional wisdom tells me that if whoever wins that match, people would react fine. But I could see a scenario, given how well Lashley has done and how liked he is at the moment, that if he loses that match, that could go a direction people don't want it to go for Drew.
I think another aspect to this, and it's very minor, but I think has a bigger effect than people realize, is the way they've been pumping in that noise. The piped in crowd reactions has been hot and cold for Lashley. They've had him be the heel this week, but he was the babyface when he beat.
Yeah.
He was the babyface the next week as well.
We thought he was going to turn babyface full time.
I wasn't sure what was going to happen. It was just very mixed reactions from the piped in audience. It's very bizarre. Yeah. And I think that can have an effect on how the real fans react.
To your point, let's think about that. He was upset with Shelton and Alexander last night for attacking McIntyre in one segment, which was a babyface thing. And then not that long later, he was going to the Dork Squad and had putting a bounty on McIntyre's head. A heel.
When you say not that long later, we're talking 5 seconds. He berated them, turned the corner, and gave the offer for the bounty. very Harley race-like.
Not even 5 seconds of consistency.
It was very bizarre.
Yeah.
Another backstage segment that took place on Raw was Riddle was celebrating and got into Sheamus's face. He tried to be all bro and cool, and Sheamus just beat the crap out of him with his scooter. So I sense that's going to be the match that we'll see at WrestleMania. Don't know which night. I think that's a match that could steal the show. Another one that you and I agreed could steal the show last week that is rumored and is likely to happen is Cesaro against Seth Rollins. So
I think that's going to be a tag. I think they're going to put Murphy in.
They haven't had Murphy on TV for 2 weeks, so I don't know.
Oh, he's going again. Oh, and Sombra did say when he was leaving in his tweet, "You deserve better than you're getting," or something. I hope they figure it out with you. And I was like, well, we're not going to see his ass again.
We might get the women's tag title because at this point, it seems like there's 4 or 5 teams that have all been looking for shots. Last night or Monday night, I should say. Lana and Naomi were at the broadcast booth watching Dana Brooke and Mandy have a super great match.
Oh my God. They're still, didn't they just do them and Shayna and Nyla?
Yeah, don't not Nyla, but Nia, yeah.
No, oh God. My apologies to you, Nyla Rose, who is so much better than Nia Jax.
Then they had on SmackDown Tamina and Natalya do a beatdown where they made themselves look like contenders. So I don't know what's going to
happen. That is a
They've been a team for the last month or two.
Name me a team in the women's division that is good.
The Riot Squad. Nia and Shayna, I'm a big fan of. I think they're the best tag team.
Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do Ruby and it's Liv Morgan, right? Versus... Yeah, just do that. Because what are the other teams here?
Well, it hasn't been a team. They have teamed and they sort of get along, but contentiously is Bayley and Carmella. And they have been pretty big focuses in the singles division lately, so I could see them getting a pretty big spotlight.
Yeah, it would be weird if they didn't put Bayley on the show.
Agreed.
Too.
So I have a feeling she'll end up somehow in the mix for this tag title, whether that's a battle royal, if it's I don't know if they'd have the guts to do like a 4 women's team ladder match or something very risky.
No!
I'm not predicting anything, just saying that could be a possibility. So we'll see where that goes.
They don't have the teams to do that.
No, they don't. But I think the Battle Royal makes the most sense because they have a bunch of possible teams, and then you have one team that stands out and gets the shot, maybe. I don't know. Speaking of tag teams, especially on SmackDown, the men's SmackDown tag team title is very mixed up, where we've had the Street Profits looking for a title shot, and then we've seen Gable and Otis win a couple of matches. The Mysterios are big. Oh, you're yawning. It's appropriate at this point, actually. and then and the Dirty Dogs were on commentary and avoiding title matches. So.
The Dirty Dogs, which is Big Ziggler and Robert Roode, who might be the only guy more overrated than Adam Cole and Finn Balor in the history of time.
There's no one more overrated than Adam Cole. At least if Cole was in a tag team, you'd have to, at least that's half the act. In this case, if you think Roode is overrated, he's half the act. He's nowhere near as standing out. And I think he's very good in this role. He's a mid-card guy in WWE.
That's true. That is true. He's not a main event. I never understood that. I never understood why people thought he was some super main event talent. He's always been bland. James Storm, who isn't exactly, the most, jump off the screen guy either. He was always more talented than him. He always was a better act. I've never got it with Roode.
I think it's more that Roode carries himself as a champion better. So that's why there were the comparisons to Triple H. And I think in today's era, he's a lot more like Nick Aldis is NWA.
He's a poor man's Nick Aldis.
That's a good way. I don't know if poor man. Debatable. Either way,
I'm being an asshole here. All right.
Understood.
Let me be an asshole. By the way, if I were Triple H and I heard myself compared to Bobby Roode, I would be insulted.
Well, you and I were not the first person to ever bring that up.
Yeah. No. I know the first person to bring that that up, and I'm not going to comment on that because I don't want to offend people watching the
Fair
show.
enough.
Yeah.
So, and I think he stands out a bit more when he's on Impact Wrestling in 2012 or whenever it was that he was the big act. But a lot of people that were big acts in smaller promotions coming to WWE, you realize it just doesn't work on the big stage with the roster they have.
I mean, I have seen him have good matches. They were with, Austin, I'm not getting the vaccine Aries, but I've seen them happen.
He can have a good match. He's not going to be the one to carry a good match.
No,
part of a good match.
No.
So anyways, 4 teams that are battling. They all seem on even footing for the title. So I see that ending up in a 4-way, maybe a TLC or a ladder match. We don't know. Big E and Apollo had that weirdo ending at FastLane where you definitely knew this angle wasn't over. So they're going to have a match at WrestleMania. I'm pretty confident of that.
They should have. They honestly should have just saved that for WrestleMania anyway, I think.
I think it's because they had a match on TV. I think they've had 2 or 3 matches on TV. They've had the heel turn, give it the pay-per-view, and then because they've already given it away, you're not really saving anything for WrestleMania.
Right.
But give it a stipulation or something along those lines.
Apollo needs to win this match.
I can see that. I don't want him to because I think Big E is the guy to go to dethrone, let's say around SummerSlam, dethrone Roman Reigns, but we'll see if
Right. Well, then you need to take the title off him, and you might as well do it now. He doesn't need the title. You just need to keep him strong in the months.
Oh, sure. I don't believe WWE has the ability to do that unless he has.
Well, that is a good point there. Yeah.
And then the only other match that they seem to be hinting at, and I'm somewhat disappointed by it, is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn seem to be feuding again.
Oh, it never ends. It never ends with those two. That'll be a great match, though.
It's going to be a great match, and the thing that's innovative about it is the roles are reversed. Kevin Owens has never been the babyface in this.
No, he never has. That's true.
This is a little unique, but at the same time, it's not unique. But we'll see. Could be good.
At least Kevin will get his dream of throwing Sammy off the pirate ship.
Yeah, someone's definitely going to end up doing a stunt in that one. All right, I want to bring up something that you've been excited for since FastLane. But we had a team breakup in WWE, a stable, in fact. I don't even know if it's a breakup or whatever it is, but we saw Ali lose to Riddle on the pre-show of FastLane.
Shocker of all shockers there.
Yeah. Apparently an injury is part of it. We'll see, though. And the rest of Retribution just turned their back on him. In fact, the team of Mace and Dijak or T-Bar.
T-Bar! He is, until further notice, he is still T. In fact, he's always just going to be T-Bar. I have decreed it.
I hope not. They all turned their back and someone attacked him. I expected to find some follow-up because they did somewhat tease that at the end. They talked about it in FastLane. Oh, what's going to happen with this? They ended up using all that story to push Riddle on Raw, and we heard nothing about Retribution.
Nothing.
So are they done? I think they're done with Ali as the leader. What are they going to do with the rest?
Good God. End it. Make it. Just put this group out of its misery.
There's so much talent there. I've never been a huge Mia Yim fan. I think she's almost like a Bobby Roode, where very good, but don't make her the star. She's done really well as this reckoning character in the very few 3 things that they actually gave her attention for. I don't care much about Slapjack. I think he's talented. Shane Thorne is good.
He's really done.
Yeah, that guy, you got to do something special to make him.
By the way, he is really good. I just saw a match between him and Ricky Marvin and Noah from like a decade ago, and I was like, God, this dude grew up to be Slapjack.
Lucky guy.
Wow.
And then I've been praising Dijak since he came from ROH to NXT, and there's still a lot of potential there, but T-Bar is not going to get him anywhere higher on the card.
See, it like, obviously they were all under masks, so you can kind of say, well, nobody actually really saw them, so maybe that'll help them. This is the sort of thing that follows you around forever. And not in a good way. Like, you remember, I'm going to use this as an example. It's a different gimmick. This one was more a comedy one than Retribution, but I think it still fits. Obviously, you remember the Spirit Squad.
Of course.
there were some people don't remember this. There were some talented guys in the Spirit Squad. Johnny Jeter was a very good wrestler, especially in OVW. And Kenny Dykstra, who was a kid when they debuted, a lot of people thought he was going to be a top star. And then the group ended. I mean, they were killed feuding with Triple H and Shawn Michaels.
Terrible.
Anyway, and then they had the big thing where they were put in the box that said ship back to
OVW
or whatever. So that obviously hurt, but like he came up there and they tried to give it a go with him briefly and he was just done.
You're talking about Dykstra here.
Yeah, Dykstra. He's still only 35 years old, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. He did some work for MLW over the last 2 years before the pandemic, and he's still very good. He was always very good, but it's very hard to recover from that gimmick. That said, there is one person who did.
Big Ziggler.
There you go. And where I was going to compare it to is when Bray Wyatt made his WWE main roster debut.
Oh, yeah.
The crowd was chanting Husky Harris at him. 2 weeks later, nobody was chanting Husky Harris. Now, Bray Wyatt, no matter what we think of The Fiend today, that was a very special gimmick that can overpower Husky Harris.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know if Dijak has the personality to pull any good gimmick.
He does not.
No.
He does not. That is definitely a big. Well, he's got a lot of problems. You know, he's a shithead for one, and then he does not have the range, number two, to pull that. I mean, he is very much. It is very frightening how similar he is to Jindrak in a lot of ways. Okay. They are of similar build. They are both. I believe they are both like 6'5". Between 6'5", 6'7".
Okay.
270 pounds, far more athletic than you would ever expect for their sizes.
Correct.
And I'm not sure on the microphone or in the character department, although Marco was very underrated charisma-wise, as we saw in CMLL. But in America, that never translated, and I'm not sure that will for Dijak here is as well. And again, just the gimmick was, it's so bad. And unlike Ziggler had that dynamic personality. The reason the reason no one cares about him now for the most part isn't because he's lacking. It's because he got buried into the ground for years on end. And people just gave up on him. Like Dijak does not have that personality. Or if he does, we have not seen it. We're going to need to see it because otherwise, I think he'll get shots because he's big, but I think he's in trouble.
The potential for trouble is there. I think.
And Mace, I don't even know what to say there.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in Mace, but the way that they did break up was they, as a team, put I don't know if it was a choke slam or a power bomb, but they attacked Ali and they walked out together. So maybe
that's definitely the way to go. The team. Put them as a team.
Team for now, even if they remove the masks or keep makeup on, make them the Ascension 2 or something. Just make them a team, and then down the line when people forget Dijak.
Pouring one out for my boy Connor right now.
Well, down the line, we can still get something out of Dijak as a single star, but he needs some rebuilding for sure.
I actually like that there. Make them the new Ascension. Give them the music, too. That was awesome music. Beautiful.
Right. So let's move into what's happening. The rest of the week for WrestleMania week is another 2-night event of Stand and Deliver, the next NXT Takeover. They have the 2 nights. They've told us what the main events were. I know not your guy, and you're not a big fan of the challenger either, but Finn Balor is going to defend on night 2.
Night 2, yeah.
Karrion Kross. And then Io Shirai is going to defend the women's title against Raquel Gonzalez in the main event of night 1.
Those are definitely interesting matches, right?
Very solid name. I don't know about delivering in the ring. I think
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah,
that's the question.
They're going to be a struggle in the main event for the men for sure, because we've seen some really high level matches outside of the stupid Cole match on TV not too long ago. But Finn Balor's delivered in the ring better than he has in any other run he's had in WWE. I haven't seen his New Japan stuff, and I do agree that part of it has been overrated, but his NXT stuff has been superb, but he's had great opponents. I don't know if Cross is at that level. And if
I know he got hurt in the Keith Lee match, but that match was very so. And
yeah.
I've seen a lot of Cross. I don't believe I've ever seen a great singles match out of him.
No, he's got potential. He can do a very good job in that role.
Yeah.
But NXT is a very different brand, where I think if this was happening in WWE, it wouldn't be as all a factor. Yeah. But in NXT, you expect a certain style.
You expect the great. This is the curse of AEW and NXT. You expect the great main event in these promotions. You expect the great work rate match, because that's what they've always delivered.
Yeah. So I don't know if I think it's gonna be 3 stars. Maybe it'll reach 4 if Balor really pulls out his best stuff. I could. But I don't think we're going to get the best main event in NXT TakeOver history.
No.
And with Io against Raquel, I like Raquel. She's got a lot of potential. She's had a lot of great matches, but I think her best singles work has been with Rhea Ripley, and we haven't really seen her work a single style outside of that. So she's proven.
But I feel better about this one because Io Shirai is so great. It's impossible for me to see it being anything lower than like a 4-star match. Now, maybe it will be, I don't know, but Io Shirai is on another plane. And when you're on another plane, you can do whatever you want in that ring.
I'm not saying she is, but she's in the argument for the best women's wrestler in the world today. So
that's
a short list, you know, whereas with men, there's a lot of debates on that. With the women, it's basically 3, maybe. So Io
I think it would be her and Mako. I can't pronounce her last name. The NXT UK side.
Yeah.
Satomura.
Satomura. No, that's it.
Satomura. And I can't even think of who else who would be.
I would think Shida or Asuka, but at the same time, they haven't had the booking to really put them in that. We know they have the ability, but they haven't had to do it.
Actually, I would say, and I'm biased, Emi Sakura, because Emi Sakura is incredible.
Okay, fair enough. Either way, we're going to get a good NXT TakeOver. It's going to be a bizarre setup where they have the 2 nights, and it's on different networks at this point. They're going to have night 1 on NXT against Dynamite on USA, and then the next night's going to be on Peacock only.
You know, if I were AEW, because I'm going to lose that night for sure.
Yeah, possibly.
On that one, I would just throw the randomest stuff out there and keep the storylines going. Like, do like John Silver versus Angelico. Why not?
Sure.
You're going to get killed anyway.
Yeah, do something. Some other matches that they have been hinting towards, they haven't told us if they're going to happen. Well, they did book Jordan Devlin, another person that you'll comment on having some baggage. He's going to take on Santos Escobar. They haven't decided which night yet.
God, Phantasma, you better win this match.
I would agree with that, but I think that's also the smarter decision. Forgetting who's involved, you want that title on the main brand. You don't want that title on NXT UK.
Unless they're bringing Devlin over full time.
Well, doesn't he still have a story going in NXT UK because of the controversy that he showed up on NXT Live and then was on an NXT UK show the next night or day, whenever it airs on the network?
I believe NXT UK has been taped in advance.
Oh, yeah.
I know he had that angle with Trent Seven, where Trent Seven was trying to lose the weight, and he did lose the weight, and then I believe Devlin beat him. I think that was the only thread, though.
Okay.
I don't know. Phantasma should win the match. That's my only thought on that situation.
I think whoever's staying in the main brand should win it. They've been booking Cole against O'Reilly.
Again, I bring this up, and this is, I assure you people, this has nothing to do with my dislike of Adam Cole. Why are we doing this now? Yeah. This should be Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. Like, where is Roderick Strong?
He had a match recently against I can't recall who.
He's
definitely not going to be the center point of this angle, though.
No, but that was the next focal point. Because Cole betrayed him too. You do that match, Cole beats him, and then in the aftermath, O'Reilly shows up, and you build that to be the main event of the next takeover. Now this match is going to be in the mid card on one of these two shows.
Yeah.
It's happening right after the betrayal occurred. It feels like we're going in fast forward here. This should have been built up more.
You know what this feels like is WWE main roster booking. This is the sort of thing that they rush too much. They don't give room to breathe.
Especially with all this stuff about them getting arrested and Adam Cole showing up to this jiu-jitsu center and getting into a fight with O'Reilly. It's like, this is Vince booking. This isn't NXT.
Well, the other aspects I do think is NXT. They're a lot more creative with how they tell these stories than, in my opinion, than WWE. But in the end, there's still the possibility that they do the strong match, but they haven't had him on TV. I don't know. I really don't know. Either way, that's a hot angle. We'll see if it actually happens.
I feel it should be, the problem is it should be even hotter to me. That's just...
Yeah. No, I'm not disagreeing with you. The tag titles have been vacated because of the injury to Danny Burch. So even though they just built up a challenger in MSK who also has an injury, I don't know how long that one will last for the Hand. I think it's Wes Lee, the best name in wrestling, by the way, who's broken a hand. How quickly they'll recover from that, I doubt it's going to be in time for Stand and Deliver, but that could be a factor.
I have a solution, an unbiased solution. Give it to the Luchadors. Give it a Ronnie Mendoza and DJZ.
Well, the rest of the tag teams that have been hot on TV, I don't think they've really isolated one as the top team to go for. So they might end up doing a multi-team match involving the El Legado del Fantasma. There's Brizongo. The grizzled young veterans have been feuding with Raul and Joaquin. Joaquin. I'm terrible with that. I'm like that commercial.
I just call them by their previous names that
DJZ.
I knew them in their past lives. Yeah.
DJZ is one of the best names and gimmicks for a mid-card guy in the history of wrestling.
What a sensational talent too.
He's very good. Very
good.
And then the other angle that's actually a team versus team angle is Thatcher and Ciampa have been feuding with Imperium, but that's been involving Walter, and Thatcher might have been one of the people that caught COVID over the recent weeks, so we don't know if he's going to be available.
Well, there you go. That'll be the tag title match now.
That was my guess. I think Imperium's the way to go, but with Walter involved, it's hard to tell. I really don't.
Well, I would suggest you could, do this tag match. Imperium wins, and then you could do Walter and Ciampa at a later pay-per-view. But judging by some of the other booking, they'll probably do Ciampa and Walter on both nights of this show. So,
speaking of your favorite talents, Johnny Gargano, he's probably going to defend his title against Dexter Lumis. That's been a match they have been building up over a long period of time.
Hold up. I need to take my headphones off for this one.
Are you not aware this has been an angle? What's the complaint here?
No, I am aware it is an angle, and I still can't believe it.
They had a couple other. Oh, go ahead.
I hope we get video of La Sombra watching that match and just cackling as he's watching.
He's going to do the Leo DiCaprio meme of holding the beer and the cigarette and pointing at the screen at the same time.
Yeah.
A couple of matches that were booked recently on NXT but seem to have been affected by the COVID outbreak, but Leon Ruff was supposed to take on Swerve Scott. That might be something that they'll push back to the pay-per-view.
That interests me.
Yeah. Swerve Scott as a heel, I know you were saying he's a great baby face, but his heel stuff has been really
He's a great heel too, yes.
Great heel.
He's great. He's great. I love Kill shot. I love kill shot.
Xia Li has been feuding with Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter. Don't know if that'll end up making the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
I love the Xia Li thing. I don't care
Yeah.
so much about the opponents, I guess.
Yeah.
LA Knight against Bronson Reed, it seems to be the angle they're going with. They've kind of had tension the last couple of weeks.
Boy, that is just a what can we put on this show? Let's throw darts at names and see what. Oh, it's gonna be LA Knight and it's gonna be Bronson Reed. All right, there we go. I feel for Bronson Reed. I have no idea how he gets 2 stars out of the LA guy who isn't LA Park.
And then we are probably going to have a women's tag title defense. They have a show tonight, obviously, where Moon and Blackheart are going to defend against the super credible team of Aaliyah and Jessie Kamea. So they're probably going to win the titles. They're going to retain the titles, but who are they going to defend against? We don't know.
It is a testament to how bad this women's tag division is that this Aaliyah team could realistically also be a challenger for the main roster ones. God.
I think the women's tag division in NXT is not in bad shape at all.
But why are they doing this then?
Because they're going to give them the win, and then another team who's actually more credible is going to get the title shot at the pay-per-view. Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be the way. You're going to have Candice LeRae and Indie Wrestling.
Good. Candice needs to be on every show.
She's definitely one of the best mid-card wrestlers in the women's division on NXT.
Let me tell you, Candice would have a better match with Dexter Loomis than Johnny will have.
100%.
Yes.
And then what's happening on NXT tonight that might lead into Stand and Deliver is Kushida's taking on Jordan Devlin. We're not sure what that'll relate to. I have a feeling they're just giving Jordan a win before the pay-per-view.
Big week. We found out Kushida is still around, and we found out Humberto Carrillo is not only still around, but dresses like The Rock in his spare time.
Not everyone who does flips gets books off TV, though they probably should be. And then we have Dakota Kai and Gonzalez taking on Io Shirai and Zoe Stark, who's been a pretty big prospect on NXT over the last month.
Lacey Ryan!
Yes, Lacey Ryan.
Shout out to the time I confused her and Lacey Evans.
So Zoe's been a pretty big focus. I don't know what that'll lead to, but I have a feeling she will end up getting a Stand and Deliver match. I just don't know where she will fit with the stories we're seeing.
They'll put her against Raquel in the next few weeks, and they'll have a competitive match. Raquel will beat her down afterwards, and Shirai will make the save.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what will Stark do at Stand and Deliver? Because they already gave away the match against Dakota Kai, so unless they do a rematch against her again at the pay-per-view.
Who's a woman in NXT that doesn't have a partner? Who's good?
No, now you're really everyone's been involved in the tag division, so it's kind of hard to say. Xia Li is the only one.
Taya. Put Taya and Zoe Starks together as a tag team, give them the belts.
That could work.
There you go.
We've spent the last hour and 10 minutes talking about WWE. That's not the only promotion, or Andrade and WWE, I should say. But one of the places
just left WWE, so we were still talking about WWE.
Pretty much. Now, one of the places he might end up is on Dynamite. So let's go through the card of what's set up for tonight's show.
I am very excited about this show. This is not one of those Brandon Cutler versus who did he even? Oh, Jake Hager. This isn't one of those Brandon Cutler, Jake Hager cards right here.
Well, I was looking at this card. It doesn't seem all that strong, but you'll tell me otherwise. Speaking of Cutler, he's in a trios match joining the Young Bucks against the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid. So I know you're very excited for that one.
That's my guy. I love the Laredo Kid. He's one of the best luchadors in the world. I think most people have been clued into that by now after the Omega match at Triple Mania. This is his second AEW appearance. He teamed with Pentagon and Phoenix previously at the first Fyter Fest against the Bucks and Kenny Omega. This is basically that match with Brandon Cutler in there, so Laredo Kid can pin him and win the match for the Luchadors. I believe this was supposed to be Pac, much like the Fyter Fest Trios match was supposed to be Pac. And he has an injury, a minor one. They want to take precautions. So they called up Laredo Kid, and now he's on the show, and I would suspect he will be on a few AEW shows between all the ones they have now.
They've been making a pretty big deal of the fact that he's been back to AEW over the last couple of days. So I do feel like they're going to give him enough attention and give him something worth working with. I believe you said last week's show was taped, so I'm assuming this one's live.
This one is live. I should also point out, and I don't know this for a fact, but I mean, there is now a luchador opening in WWE, so perhaps this match will turn into a phone call as well afterwards for Laredo Kid. You never know.
You never know.
Somebody might be calling after.
Showing up.
You never know.
Tay Conti's going to take on not Nia Jax, but Nyla Rose. I'm. What do you think?
Well, they've wrestled twice.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotten better each time, much like Tay Conti has gotten better each time. I would think that Ty should win this one, but they are starting to do something with Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill, where they're now a sort of like an alliance or such to go against Big Swole and Red Velvet. So the Red Velvet Jade Cargill thing is not over yet. Slurm
hand cream.
Slurm hand cream. Product placement in the middle of the AEW breakdown.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I could see this one going either way. They will have big shoes to fill. I'm going to make a bold prediction. This will not be better than Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa from last week's show.
I've heard nothing but great things about that match.
Oh, man. How great was this match? Drew McIntyre texted Britt Baker afterwards to say that was a hell of a match.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing right now with wrestling not being a daily event for the wrestlers. They're not, Drew McIntyre has 6 days off a week where he can watch other promotions. And the world of wrestling, forgetting the stupid for
the fan stuff, yeah.
No, not the fans. Sorry, the Forbidden Door garbage. But what's opening the door is that people in WWE can comment on social media about AEW saying they watched it, and there's no penalty that we know of.
That we know of, yeah. Oh, yeah, but that's the thing. Like, we see all these fans that get all upset about AEW or NXT because it's not their favorite. And these wrestlers, they don't care. They're friends with everybody. They just want everybody to do a good job.
Well, I read something about how close the Bucks were to signing with WWE. Apparently, one of their wives mentioned it. So they don't have a hatred. They just feel like AEW... I think we could do a different and, in their opinion, better version. Then why not? Absolutely go for it.
Yeah. I mean, they do occasionally take shots at each other, but that's history right there. Deep down, nobody here hates each other.
What shot has WWE taken since the Triple H 5 Hall of Fame thing from 2 years ago?
When they did the explosion things the night after the dud, which I thought was smart. They should have done that.
They didn't do an explode. The Bobby Lashley pyro?
No. Randy Orton was in the ring and a bunch of pyro and explosives went off.
I really don't think that was tied into that.
Oh, I thought it was, and I thought it was deserved. If you don't nail that, you open yourself up to ridicule right there.
Sure, but I really don't think there's been shots fired from both sides. I think it's been AEW taking shots and WWE's just not caring and moving on with their life. It's like a sour breakup. Anyways, let's get back to the Dynamite show. Another trios match is the FTR and Shawn Spears, now known as the Pinnacle. Is that the name of the stable?
Pinnacle, yes.
So they're going to take on the Varsity Blondes and Dante Martin. I have a feeling we all know who's going to win that one.
Oh, yeah, that's a table setter to get.
Yeah.
Pinnacle
Shawn
over.
Spears might be the guy that'll take the pin so the Pinnacle loses in the future, but they're not losing this one.
Oh, yeah. They're gonna win this one. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. Yeah.
You got to have these established matches. Yeah. It's not a squash, but you need to establish the Pinnacle as a serious group in the future. You got to give them a win on
right. So it's FTR and Spears, right?
Isn't that what I said? But yeah.
Yeah, I believe I'm just double checking. So yeah, it's that. I mean, FTR has worked with Pillman. Garrison is really good. That kid is really good. They've worked with them before. They've had a good match. Dante is a really impressive athlete. So I think They'll have a good match. I don't think it'll be the best thing on the show, but it'll be good.
No, you got to establish, and that's what they're going to do. I'm not sure, judging from the card, which is going to be the main event. It's going to be one of these two. Omega is taking on Matt Sydal, and I know you're very excited about that.
Oh, man, I'm so happy for this match. I've wanted this match since Matt came in. I mean, I love Matt Sydal. He's one of the most talented in-ring guys around. Obviously, he's not the most charismatic. I do enjoy this whole stoner LSD vibe thing he's got where he's all zen and everything. But we all know it's not main event material, the gimmick. But the work rate he has is main event level. And Omega is a main event level guy.
For sure.
And if they're given the time, this is going to be magic. It's going to be great.
I will agree, especially because if I was thinking of Evan Bourne against Omega, I wouldn't have cared. I saw Matt Sydal in the ROH Pure Title tournament that they had done. And he did not wrestle a flashy style. He worked a very good technical. He flew a little bit. He showed his speed, but he showed he could do a lot more.
He is a great all around performer.
Yeah, and I think while I'm not the biggest Omega fan, that's a good matchup so they can fly and also have a good technical aspect. So you're going to get a little bit of everything in that match.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic. Now, if Sydal wins, this is similar to the concept they had with Omega and Janela a few months back when Janela couldn't wrestle Omega in the tournament because he was hurt or because he came into contact with somebody that had COVID. That's right. If Sydal wins this, he gets a title shot.
Yeah, title eliminator is what it's called.
Yes, I don't believe he will win it, but just for the sake of clarity there.
Yeah. And honestly, the thing that this is good for in matches like this is if this is a mid-card match on this Dynamite, Sydal does get the win. That's a main event 3 weeks down the line where the title is finally on the line.
Even next week.
Yeah, if it's next week, but I'm just saying they can, because AEW doesn't rush these things that often, it can be not a pay-per-view, but a TV main event down the line. And because AEW is much better at this than WWE on all brands, you can promote a TV main event weeks in advance and get people interested. And then the other match that's going on, speaking of title match, is the TNT title where Darby Allin will take on one of your favorites, John Silver.
I love John Silver. I honestly would have preferred Stu Grayson in this spot. I confessed this to the Miz fan earlier. I'm a big Stu Grayson guy. I think the match would have been a slight bit better with him there.
Okay.
But John Silver is great. Darby Allin is great. I expect this will be great, and I fully expect Darby Allin wins.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to imagine that they'll move it to John Silver. And the other big talking point is that, speaking of Darby Allin, Sting and Team Taz and Brian Cage, there's some wondering if that he might be turning face.
Yep.
And then the other talking point that I'm suddenly forgetting all of a sudden.
Lance Archer and Darby Allin.
There was that. I'm forgetting. I'm a dummy.
What else is going on? It's nothing to do with Baker and Rosa.
No, doesn't matter. You'll fill us in on whatever else is going on in the world of AEW and Dynamite. On that note, though, last night, right now, Kenny Omega made his return to Impact. So they're going to be building up on Impact towards the Omega and Rich Swann match that's going to happen in April at their next pay-per-view. So expect a little bit more crossover. If you are an Impact fan, you're going to see a lot more content from the AEW side other than the very, in my opinion, terrible promos from the Tonys. But
the two Tonys.
The two Tonys. Super awesome stuff.
The two Tonys. That's what they call them. Do you think Omega wrestles at all on these tapings?
I wouldn't be surprised if they give him one match just to get the Impact fans interested. I don't think there's that many Impact fans that are like me that don't tune into AEW. But at the same time, I might not tune into AEW, but I know what Kenny Omega does. So I don't know how necessary it is to give him a match. But in my opinion, it'd be smart to book one and then tell people tune in to, especially because if NXT does end up moving to Tuesdays, which is looking more and more likely to happen, I'm not saying
Impact might need to move to Thursdays,
which is already a rumor. But if they want to work at all to make it competitive, hyping up an Omega match would do better than anything else that could do.
Certainly. Who do you put him against? You can't, because that's the thing. You can't put him against somebody that could potentially beat him down the road.
Right.
But you want to put him against somebody where they can have a slightly competitive, like 7 to 8 minute match.
I would say Josh Alexander. Not because he's not going to end up being potential down the line, but I don't think he's going to last an Impact long enough to be the potential. I think he will end up in AEW.
May I just say to that point, because you're referring to him joining Ethan Page.
Right.
He's cut a few promos in AEW already. That guy is tremendous.
Yeah.
We already knew that. He is awesome on the mic. He's going to be a player just because of that right there.
It's going to be tough to decide between the two, him and MJF, because they're both masters on the mic as heels. Who's going to end up being the bigger star down the line? I think MJF has a lead because of his youth, but Ethan Page is no slouch.
Yeah, he's better in the ring too than he gets credit for. Like he's looked good with Lee Johnson and Alan Angels thus far. Right?
Very good talent. I think I made this joke already, but I wouldn't give him too many cinematic matches. But he's
no. I don't need to see the karate dude.
No,
I don't need to see that.
Has he mentioned that at all in AEW?
No. The only reason I need to see the karate dude is if Sting is appearing to death drop him in 3 seconds and then it fades to black.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, one last thing I wanted to mention. You actually brought it up before we signed in, but Riot Lucha Libre. Tell me what's going on there.
Riot Lucha Libre. I'm going to put these guys over big right here. So as people know, there's been very little Lucha Libre in the past year. Mm-hmm. Riot Lucha Libre is an indie organization. They are primarily based out of Monterrey, I believe.
Okay.
They last ran, a year ago. It is so long ago that recent WWE signee Blake Christian was on the show.
Okay.
And they just made their return this past Sunday night. At the same time as FastLane was going on, I watched the show. This was the best show I've seen this year from any promotion. AEW, Choco Gato Moves, Choco Pro, anybody else that I'm forgetting.
New Japan?
Yeah, it was better than the Wrestle Kingdom shows.
Really?
Wow. Well, this was 5 matches and 4 of them were awesome. So,
fair enough.
And then there was one shitty battle royal because when it's a big show, you have to have the shitty battle royal.
Get everyone on the card match.
Got to get everybody on the card. There were streaming issues with this. This was their first time streaming a show, and Mexican indies have a history of streaming problems with their first time. But the matches were largely flawless. I saw a 360 space flying tiger drop, or the Sasuke special, as they call it, which was incredible. I believe it was by a man named, I'm going to butcher his name and I apologize now, Prometeo, I believe is his name. He did the move. He's awesome. There was a great Iron Kid Aramis match. There was a great technical match between Latigo and Eric Ortiz. And the main event between El Hijo del Vikingo, who is a guy everybody wants to come to the States when his visa issues are done and dusted, and Ares, who is a great all-around performer who's appeared in GCW. They had a match of the year contender. I love this. Some of the most innovative stuff you'll ever see. Just mind-blowing. A great, great show. They did this show because they are trying to raise money for their luchadors that work for them. Right. And such. Try to raise some money to help them out during these times. And we are now going to promote that site. So if you want to donate to these guys, and you should, they busted their ass on this show. You can go to, let me get it right, donadora.org/campanas/esto-s-riot. They have reached 58% of their goal.
Okay.
And they have 2 days left to reach 100%. So please go there and donate to them.
Support your lucha stars. They're everyone's struggling in different ways right now, and unfortunately, WWE and AEW were able to continue working. Not every promotion was able to do that, as we've seen with CMLL and AAA.
Yeah. I mean, they've tried. CMLL taped a bunch of stuff, but that was months and months ago, and AAA has tried these auto lucha stuff. And, the problem is we can't see it because of the lawsuit and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, those are big promotions.
For sure.
Like, they're not WWE size, but they have money. AEW and WWE have money. They could have stopped for a few months and been fine.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least WWE could have. I presume AEW would have been able to. Like, places
impossible to know, but let's hope so.
Places like Riot, places like even a GCW and AAW in Chicago and so on and so forth. These places depend on running shows all the time and surviving off the money of those shows. And they haven't been able to do it. So yeah, if you can help out at all, unless you're dirt poor and you can't afford it and such, help these guys out.
Yeah, a lot of people are not suffering. I got to admit, I'm more well off today than I've ever been in my life because I'm saving money from not spending gas. I'm working from home from this studio that I'm working in, and I'm sure I'm not the only person. So if you do have some extra funds, you're willing to help out, keep in mind how entertained you are by wrestling on a regular basis. Because if you're listening to our show, that means you care about wrestling. So show that the best way you can.
Exactly. Well said. Well said.
That's why I'm the host.
What a close right there. That's a good close.
I don't show ego very often, but that was definitely one of them.
No, you channeled your Ethan Page, right?
Yeah, I channeled the Pen 15, I guess. So on that note, let's sign off because we do have the rest of the week to go. There's nothing well, you know what? One thing I got to do is catch up on the NWA show, the Back to the Attack that was on last weekend. I'm a little behind on that. I do want to catch that. We do have an ROH pay-per-view this weekend that was apparently taped, as you mentioned.
Yep.
I still want to catch it, but unfortunately, like you mentioned, ROH just not the tip of the tongue of any wrestling fans these days. And we've got a pretty solid NXT and AEW card tonight. We're in the road to WrestleMania. It's always a good time to be a wrestling fan. So thank you.
One last question. Will Sombra appear tonight, or will he appear in the next few weeks?
I would say if AEW was smart, yes. And I do think they're smart. I don't want to say that they aren't smart, but if they can negotiate a deal in the next 24 hours they've had or however much time they've had, definitely go for it. I hope they're not, breaking the bank to get it done, but it would be really smart to get that attention right away.
I mean, I don't know how much sense it would make, but it would be pretty cool if they go to start that trios match and then we see Cutler laid out backstage and Callis comes out because the whole thing is trying to get in the Buck's head. And he's like, I found you a better partner. And out walks Via and Sombra. And then that's the match. I'm not sure how much sense it would make, but it'd be cool.
I think it would. You got to go with what's cool more often than not. The only problem with that is with AEW, sometimes they try too hard to be what's cool, and that's a detriment to me.
That is true. But I mean, I don't know where else he would fit on the show. I mean, unless he really wants to join the Pinnacle, I guess.
He could just come out and do a promo the way Christian did.
Yeah, he interrupts him and Christian. Now I like that. I like that match right there.
Yeah, he could just interrupt anyone and start a feud that is available. I don't know what other storylines are going on, but if there's someone that is not involved in one, have Andrade, Sombra show up.
Yeah, you could have Christian cutting a promo, and then suddenly Thea is out there cutting a promo on him, and then Sombra attacks from behind. Now that would be like the Christian thing. A lot of people thought was over-promising and under-delivering. This scenario would be under-promising and over-delivering right there. I like that idea. I don't know if they're going to do it, though.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, we booked a few good shows for WWE and AEW tonight.
Yeah, I don't even watch AEW, and I'm booking the best thing possible.
I don't even watch NXT. Guys, you need to call us. We have the finger on the pulse here.
Like I said, I'm doing okay in my line of work. I will drop everything if I get called by a wrestling promotion to be a writer. Creative mind.
The same. Yeah.
Honey, I got to move to Stamford. Sorry. Gotta go. Or Jacksonville, whatever.
Or Jacksonville, yeah. Or Nashville or Toronto, wherever Impact is. We'll work there too.
I'll go to Baltimore. I might avoid the wire areas, but I would go to Baltimore for ROH.
Oh God, yeah. Are you kidding me? With Delirious there, we'd be running the promotion in 2 weeks.
Yeah, don't do any villain stuff, and we'll keep our job.
Oh yeah, no. Screw that guy.
On that horrible note, we are going to finish things off for the day. Thank you once again for joining us. We'll see you next week here on the Decline of Wrestling Civilization on luchacentral.com.
Bye, everybody. Have a good one.